Good evening, citizens of Portsmouth, invited guests, in addition to our city staff and our city manager, my colleagues on council, of course, our city attorney, and our clerk. We welcome you all to our council meeting today, September 10th. And I would ask that each of us, as we stand for this moment of silence, to remember those souls that we lost on September 11th, 2001. About 2,966 individuals were lost on that day. So I would ask when you stand up for this moment of silence that you remember them. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will ask my colleagues to please note your presence electronically.
7 members of City Council are present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we do have the minutes of a called meeting, August 13th, 2024, and a regular meeting, August 13th, 24. Do we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote electronically.
The minutes are adopted 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have now moved to the item of City Council rules. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the council rules?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the City Council as a body rather than to any particular member of City Council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We've now come to the item on our agenda, public hearings. Item 24-244, item A, UP-24-07. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing item that we are considering?
Yes, sir. Academy Crossing, resolution granting the request of R. Stancil for use permit to operate an event space banquet hall in Suite 36 through 37 of the shopping center at 3282 Academy Avenue in the General Mixed Use Zoning District. The future land use map of the Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for commercial use. The property is owned by Mid-Atlantic Builder, VA LLC. Planning Commission recommends approval with conditions. The actual resolution reads, a resolution granting a use permit, UP 2407, to operate an event space banquet hall at Suite 3637 of the shopping center located at 3282 Academy Avenue.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant present? If the applicant is present, if you would please come forward, state your name and address. You will have 10 minutes. Is the applicant present for this public hearing item? We will move on to the next public hearing item.
No, sir. We have to deal with this item.
No, that's right. I'm sorry.
Council members, you have a couple of options here. Either you can defer this item, or you can deliberate on this item and still have the public hearing without the applicant being here.
And that's true. So do we know, were we notified of the applicant not going to be in attendance?
No, sir, we were not.
Okay. Councilman Moody, sir, you have a comment?
Mayor, I'd like to defer this item.
Okay.
That would be my motion.
Very good. So we do have a request from a member of council to defer this item for, and we do have a second. Do we have a date that we want to defer to our next meeting? Is that appropriate?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, we'll defer this item
Yes, sir.
to the next meeting. We have a motion and a second, and I would ask all of my colleagues to please cast your vote electronically.
This item is deferred to the September 24th meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next item, item B, UP-24-08. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing item that we are considering at this time?
Yes, sir. Innovation Overlay, resolution granting the request of T. Majors for a use permit to operate an event space banquet hall in a suite addressed as 507 Williamsburg Avenue within a building located at 1629 High Street in the neighborhood mixed-use zoning district. The future land use map of the Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property for commercial uses. The property is owned by T.W. Dana III. Planning Commission recommends approval with conditions. The resolution you are considering, a resolution granting a use permit UP 2408 to operate an event space banquet hall in a suite having an address of 507 Williamsburg Avenue located within a larger parcel identified as 1629 High Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we do, for this particular item, we do have a registered speaker. But before we get to that registered speaker, is the applicant present? Yes. Oh, if you're present, if you could please come forward, state your name and address, and you will have 10 minutes, ma'am.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am. If you would
Okay.
just pull the microphone a little closer. There. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Taryn Majors, and I'm at 507 Williamsburg Avenue in Portsmouth. And I am hoping to open an intimate event space for the community at an affordable price. My goal is to provide a venue where people can host various events such as paint nights, podcast tapings, photo shoots, birthday parties, small showcases, small business pop-up shops and launches, dinner parties, holiday parties, baby showers, gender reveals, graduation parties, game nights, meetings, dance rehearsals, organizational meetings, and more. Given this small capacity of 600 square feet, accommodating about 50 people or less, we do not foresee the need for employees. The hours of operation will be from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday to Monday. The venue benefits from 30 parking spaces and dumpsters located at the rear of the building. We plan minimal modifications to the exterior portion of the site, primarily installing a new sign, security system, and mailbox. The space's location is strategic, situated at a focal point of the city initiatives to support and encourage small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is that all you had for us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can go have a seat.
Are there any questions from my colleagues? Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Ms. Majors.
Good evening.
Congratulations. Is this your first business venture?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
Wish
you.
you much success. What are your hours of operation?
I'm hoping for 8 a.m. to midnight.
To midnight?
Yes, sir.
And I take it that you're a banquet hall, so your customers, if they want to have beer or adult beverages, they would get their own license?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're not applying for ABC license
No, sir.
yourself? Okay, thank you, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from my colleagues for Ms. Majors? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
As I had indicated, we do have one registered speaker for this item, and it is Ms. Joanne Clark. And ma'am, if you would come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes.
Good evening, members of council, mayor, and neighbors and citizens of Portsmouth. 3985 Twin Pines Road, 5760 Churchland Boulevard, 3981 Twin Pines Road, 600 Court Street, 620 High Street, 340 High Street, 2884 Airline Boulevard, 4010 Victory Boulevard, 465 Dinwiddie, the 3 on your agenda, and who knows if I've missed any. But those are the ones that are already approved for event centers and banquet halls in the city of Portsmouth. It's quite a few already, and I understand from inspections, they've got their hands quite full. I hope before you approve any more of these functions and businesses, that you keep in mind that you're going to have people who inspect these to make sure they're following the stipulations you give them and planning department gives them. And you're going to need somebody to handle the enforcement of any violations of those. And we already know we're losing 25 officers next year. So before we be reactive for problems, maybe we should be proactive when we think selectively about these types of businesses, particularly since several of these are after midnight. They're until 2 o'clock in the morning. Even midnight is a precarious time in the evening, particularly if people have been imbibing. We don't know what kind of adult beverages they're involved in, license or ABC license, we do not know. So I hope that you give that a consideration. Also, these can be anywhere because we've eliminated the setback distinction between these different, zoning ordinances. So you could put one of these, well, the one at the Academy Center, it's right next to a daycare center. So, I mean, we're talking feet. So I hope that you keep that in mind, and I hope you'll ask some questions about enforcement and keeping an eye on these. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing item. You are not required to have signed up to speak on this particular item. If you would like to speak on this item specifically, please come forward, state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Denise Majors. I am a resident of Portsmouth, 5621 Parish Lane in the Churchland area. I'm also the mother of Taryn Majors, and I own the salon right next door to where she wants to host her event space. And I think it would be great for our customers, so we can do customer appreciations there, because we don't currently have a space for that. I just think it'll be a great thing for us in our area. Event spaces, they don't have to be something that's negative. It can be something that's positive. Baby showers, that's all she wants to do. And so I would love to have that event space right next door to my salon. And that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else would like to come forward and speak on this public hearing item? If you would please come forward, state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes. Seeing none, this public hearing item is closed. We will then proceed with the vote. We are needing of a motion and a second.
Second.
Is there an additional discussion on this? Wait, Mr. Moody, sir, you have a question? Or you?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a question directed to planning. I noticed the resolutions for approval and the conditions on all of these tonight are basically the same. And I noticed there are no conditions on hours of operation. Is that something that, is that by our choice, or is that by state code? I looked through them, unless I overlooked it, I didn't see hours of operation as a condition.
And Mr. Moody, we're going to ask Mr. Carter if he could please direct his staff to provide a response.
Dr. Russell, would you have a response to this?
Yes. Mr. Carter, members of council, we consider the applicant's hours of operation. This applicant is 8 a.m. to 12 midnight, which we don't consider excessive, and it does speak to the nature of the uses that are proposed, is not, or is being consistent with what is proposed. Dinners, banquets, family gatherings. I think if we are considering late in the morning hours, it would be consistent with a private club or a fee-based entry. We would have some concerns, and the conditions would be more restrictive.
I guess my response to that, and nothing against Ms. Major's business here, but let's say that Bill Moody opened a banquet hall, and I spoke before this body and said, I'm going to be open from 12 midnight, but I decided, hey, I've got some customers that want to party on into 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just throwing this out that I know a lot of places, as a condition, we establish what the hours of operation are. I just found this when I was looking at all three of these applications. I didn't see any conditions at all on them as far as hours of operation.
Mr. Carter, Mr. Moody, there's nothing that would preclude council from adding a condition for hours of operation.
I think I would like staff to come back and maybe put some thought on it. We've as the lady just said, that we've approved a lot of banquet halls. As far as I know, there's no problem with them. But have we set conditions on operation hours on any of the rest of them?
The list that was read, I'm not familiar with all of the conditions associated with them.
Okay. But I think it's something maybe council needs to put some thought to on having it open-ended. I could see where down the road there might be some issues with that. But I'm very supportive of this one tonight.
Thank you, sir. We do have a motion and a second. And is there any additional discussion from my colleagues on council? Seeing none, would you please vote electronically?
This item is adopted 7-0.
Our next item, item C, UP-24-09. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the public hearing item we're considering at this time?
Yes, sir. George Washington Highway, resolution granting the request of E. Hines for a use permit to operate an event space banquet hall in Suite 4646 of the shopping center at 4644 George Washington Highway in the General Mixed Use Zoning District. The future land use map of the Bill 1 Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan designates this property as a mixed-use corridor. The property is owned by BHG Capital LLC. Planning Commission recommended denial. The actual resolution to be considered is a resolution granting a use permit, UP 2409, to operate an event space banquet hall in Suite 4646 of Williams Court 2 Shopping Center, located at 4644 George Washington Highway.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant on this item present? If you will come forward, state your name and address. Ma'am, you will have 10 minutes.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Erica Hines. I'm the owner of Creations Dance Studio for children ages 5 to 18. We are asking to open up this venue hall. It will help us to raise money for our dance school, for our students to be able to afford transportation to competitions out of state, also for uniforms and feeding. We would like to have this event space for birthday parties, bridal showers, baby showers, wedding receptions, dance banquets, dance competitions, and etc. Our hours will be from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Do you have any more information, or is that all you have for us?
That's it.
Okay. Are there any questions from my colleagues on council? Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to hear from planning staff, I guess the major reason for the denial. Looking through the packet, I couldn't actually find that.
Mr. Carter, could you please request a member of your staff to provide an explanation?
Dr. Russell, can you or one of your team members provide an explanation for this?
Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, the location in general, the shopping center would be appropriate for the use. And were it close to the existing dance hall, we could be supportive of it. Given the location, would you show the first slide for this, 2409? This leasable space is in the rear of the shopping center where there is no designated parking and poor lighting. The location of it and the characteristics of the location is not readily visible, has lent itself to some nuisance uses like trash, loitering, harboring of, not harboring is not the right word, but homeless persons residing and overnight sleeping in vehicles and things of that nature. And we believe that it is it's essentially a safety issue. There's no interior lighting as well to this leasable area. And so those are the reasons why our recommendation is to deny the use at this location. We're at one of the tenant leasable spaces in the front of the building that had ready access to parking and greater visibility. I believe we could support it.
Did someone lease this property to her in this condition with access to the back? I mean, because obviously somebody thought it was a good deal if they asked her for money to lease this property.
The property manager did speak at the Planning Commission public hearing. I'm not sure where the applicant and the landlord are with respect to their lease negotiations, but because the property manager did speak, I believe they are certainly open to leasing this space for the proposed use.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
As a follow-up, the building looks like it's been a warehouse type of building. Do we know what businesses occupied the?
Excuse me, Mr. Moody, is your mic on? Is your mic on? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I don't know if you heard me or not, but my question is, it looks like a warehouse-type building. Do we know what businesses have occupied that address in the past?
Would you, the interior, can you show the interior shots? Yeah, so I've seen photos that show that there's equipment like tables, chairs, things.
Dr. Russell, can you speak in the mic a little more, please? Yeah. Oh, okay.
We have pictures that show that the space has previously been used to house and store tables and chairs and things of that nature, which is consistent with an event space use. So It's particularly secure, the rolling door for ease of access of big materials and equipment. That's all that we know at this point in time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Hugel, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So to come back to the Vice Mayor's question, I attended the Planning Commission. In addition to the comments that Dr. Russell offered regarding the safety and the trash issues, if you go to the second slide in the package, the plan view, so just above the grade area there, that narrow road, that's truck access for the businesses to get shipping through there. So there was also discussion about concern, people going back there while there's cargo moving back and forth. So, I agree with the Planning Commission in this case. I don't think this is the right place to do what the applicant is asking to do for the reasons that Dr. Russell spoke to. I think the Planning Commission got this one right.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
So for the original people that was in the location, was all of this considered when they opened up their business?
The original,
The people who were originally inside the building, when it comes to the lighting, the trash and all that, which is the applicants, that's not on the applicant, that's on the people who actually run the area over there, was that William Court too? But was that considered when they first opened their business?
Councilman Barnes, our evaluation of this particular property and this use came about because of this application. So I don't have any history that would support an answer to how it was originally permitted. If it were a by right use, there would have been minimal evaluation over lighting and access and parking because it would have been by right.
So right now we just speculating on what it was. We really don't know what it is. What we do know is just that it was a business operating at this location with all the same things that we're asking to have now, correct?
No, not at all, sir. And I apologize.
Without it, correct? So it was lighting there at first?
No, sir. You said that when my response, not at all, you said it would have been a business use with all the same issues as this use is. And that's not accurate because this is a proposed entertainment venue that would support or say a community facility use that primarily serves children that would require pedestrian access to and from the building. And so because there's not designated parking around that leasable area, those patrons to that facility would be accessing the property from the, can you use the pointer for me to show that front parking, proposing conflicts with the loading docks, lighting issues, and what has been a pattern of nuisance uses in the back of the property. And so any prior user of that space, if it were a community facility or an event space, it would require a use permit, and they would have the same rigorous evaluation that we're going through right now. There hasn't been an applicant prior to this applicant at this location for that use, so these concerns haven't been vetted. Were it a similar use, we'd have the same concerns.
So as far as the nuisance use and the lighting issue, would that be a issue for the other surrounding businesses in that area when it comes to those things? The Ollie's, the Dollar General, the multiple restaurants, and things like that? Because they will all have to. Because I had some concerns previously about the nuisance in general, but that would be covered by everybody, right? Shouldn't everybody be a part of that process and keeping that area?
Mr. Carter, you have the floor, sir.
I think the problem that we're having right now is not that the building can't be used. This applicant is asking for it to be used in a different manner than it was previously used. The by right means when the way it's zoned right now, some things you can put in this building and never have to come here because by right, they can put it in there because it's already zoned that way. So we won't go through this process if it's already zoned to do what they want to do. The only reason we're here today is because we're asking it to be zoned to do something different than what it was already previously zoned for. So if I want to move in there and do exactly what it's zoned for, we'd never be at this table. All right. But because she's asking to do something that is not zoned for, we have to go through the process of evaluating, can we change the zoning to match what she wants to do? Okay.
You have the floor, ma'am.
Far as the lightning, nothing's wrong with the lightning. The lights are bright. Far as the homeless people sleeping out there, the U-Haul is gone. There's no more homeless people out there. Far as the loading, the owner have informed, which was only Dollar General who was loading in the back. They are now to load in the front. Far as the parking in the back, he has informed all the tenants. No one is to park back there but the one us. We're the only one. So the owner have fixed everything that they said we had to do. It's nothing wrong with the lightning. The U-Haul is gone that the homeless man was sleeping in. It's no longer there. Only person that was loading back there was Dollar General. He already informed them, once we open, they have to load through the front.
Thank you. Dr. Whitaker, you have the floor.
Yes, and so, Ms. Hines?
Yes.
Just want to make sure, because I read the transcript of the Planning Commission meeting, and so you're not the owner.
No.
No. And so many of the issues that were being raised during Planning Commission, there was quite a bit of discussion about some of the concerns that have been raised about you having your business there. And many of those concerns were issues of the owner, that the owner should address, not you. I'm seeing from reading that actually that I thought it was going in a direction of approval. And so I was a little surprised at the end when it was a denial, because those issues that are being raised, those will be things that between you and the owner to take care of. If there is designated parking that needs to be there, is that something, a condition that designated parking be placed there by the owner? Is that something that should be in a condition if that's a concern?
Mr. Carter, you probably need the floor so you can ask your staff to answer that question.
Actually, I can answer this one for you. If you want to put conditions on and approve it, you can put some conditions on and approve. But again,
Right.
any conditions you place, it's going to have to be negotiated between the applicant and the actual owner of it. We can't separate the two when we evaluate.
I guess the better question, so in this process, if the parking was a concern, why wasn't it just put in there as a condition to have designated parking?
Because there were several things that were concerned. It wasn't.
Well, I know it wasn't
anything.
just that, but I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
saying that it seemed like if that were a major concern, that would be in a condition.
Well, that would be a condition if everything else was okay and they were going to recommend approval. If
Okay.
you're going to recommend it now, then I wouldn't tell you, go fix the process, go fix your parking, I'm still going to deny it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Okay.
you understand that?
Yeah, fair enough.
Councilman Tillage, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. So my question kind of aligns with Councilman Whitaker's. In the process of the applicants go through this, 9 times out of 10, the majority of the applicants are tenants. They're not the owners. And so do we not include the owner of the building in the process? Because it's kind of hard when a tenant is faced with these type of situations. The tenant can't just say, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And so I think it's very important that we include the owner in those things, because the owner can say, okay, I can redirect trucks this way, or I can have more parking here or more lighting there. And so I kind of think it puts the applicant in an awkward position, because she can't stand here before us today and say, I can do this.
Right.
And so, of course, our process here is based on her, but it's kind of out of her hands. And so I think, moving forward in any of these processes, I think the owner needs to be reached out to, so that while even before they even go to planning, so that they know what conditions can and cannot be met before they even come to council. Because if we just defer this later on down the road, I mean, we're just pushing the can down the road until the owner can say yes or no, and then come back to council.
Mr. Carter, you have the floor, sir.
The owner was involved in this process. She was at the meeting that I attended when this was being evaluated. So that was the point where they identified all the things that was wrong. Now, if they have subsequently started making changes after that, then the owner, I would say that the owner needs to be present today to say, hey, we've done all these other things, but that wasn't the case when it was evaluated. But the owner was there when
Okay,
it was evaluated.
so if she was present in the planning commission meeting,
Yes.
when these conditions or denials were recommended,
Correct.
I still feel like it's the city's responsibility to kind of follow up to see before we get to this point if those things have been met or agreed upon. Because, I mean, you could be at the meeting that day.
Right.
That doesn't give you time to analyze the situation either, if I'm at the meeting.
Well, that is an opinion of one way to get it done, but I would prefer that if we say, hey, these are issues that is wrong, we've denied it, or we're going to recommend denial, that you as the owner would say, okay, I'm going to fix these things, and I'll bring it back to you and tell you that they're fixed before it actually gets to this point. I think it would be incumbent upon the owner to come back to us if things are changed, not to us to go and just check daily to see if, or frequently, to see if things have changed.
All right. So what I would do, or what I would recommend here, is that
Okay.
we table this item and allow the opportunity for that conversation to occur.
Absolutely.
And that is a recommendation. So, ma'am, you can take a seat now.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that, in hearing and in reading the supportive documentation, we have a process, we have a planning process, we have standards with that planning process, and the overriding thing for me, having worked in environments with children, is one of the main factors that planning, not the city, the planning commission denied it, was the safety issue with our children. And I don't know about you, but when children and safety are put in the same category, I think we should always err on the side of keeping our children safe. Understanding that, if it is the will of council to make a decision to defer this for further explanation or examination, that is it. But what we have before us here is a vote. So we can proceed at that time. If there's a motion, do we need to deal with if there's a motion to defer, should we take up that motion first? I know. Okay. So we'll finish the public hearing, then we'll have the discussion as it relates to that. So once again, this is a public hearing item, and you do not have to have signed up to speak on this item. If you wish to come forward and speak on this public hearing item, you will have 5 minutes. You will state your name and address. So anybody who wishes to speak on this item at this time can do so. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this public hearing item? Seeing none, then this public hearing item is closed.
Mr. Mayor, I move to defer this item to the next council meeting.
Second.
We have a request to defer this item to the next council meeting with the second. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, I would ask everyone to please vote electronically.
Council members, please vote again. This item is deferred until the September 24th meeting by a vote of 6-1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item is under unfinished business, under still public hearings. Item 24-76, item CAP-24-01. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the unfinished public hearing item at this time?
Citywide resolution granting the request of the city to adopt a plan for innovation district. The new document will be titled City of Portsmouth Innovation District. The plan will recommend strategies and tactics for achieving the identified goals and recommendations for funding and tools for implementing the strategies and tactics deferred from the August 13th, 2024 City Council meeting. Planning Commission recommended approval, and the actual resolution reads, a resolution adopting the City of Portsmouth Innovation District Plan.
Thank you, ma'am. And do we have a speaker for that? Do we want to revisit that, or we just want to go into the registered speakers?
Registered speakers,
Okay.
sir.
Very well. We do have a number of registered speakers for this item. Our first registered speaker is Ms. Joanne Clark. Ma'am, if you would come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes.
Good evening, members of council, city manager and staff, and citizens of Portsmouth. I enjoyed going to all of the meetings for the Innovation District. I think it's a wonderful project. I see more positives than negatives, but I'd like to maybe give my input for whatever that means. You can take it or leave it, or maybe think about it. But when we went to the first meeting, they asked us what we immediately thought we would envision in this area, and I have a map. I'm sure they have a map somewhere. And I added some things myself. But my vision was a safety center, a place where the police can have all of their staff and all their equipment, similar to the one in Bridgeport, Suffolk, where there's a fire department and the EMTs are all right there. We need an area like that somewhere, and I envisioned it in the red. So I think it's what makes things possible, and it makes, say, like Bridgeport in Suffolk, that has evolved into a huge, huge project. And what do they have within a mile is they have their safety center. And that gives people a feeling of everything we need is right here. And they have thousands and thousands of people renting apartments there, and they all seem to be very happy. They have people who are promoting that particular project. They have all kinds of fun things going on. Businesses are merging all around that area, and I think because it's considered a safe area, also they have educated employees, students there, and it's a good idea, I think, to have that safe environment included into a project of this volume. And the density of this project is anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 units. So we're talking about a lot of people in a small area. The only other thing I had a little curiosity about was the shared parking. At the time they mentioned it, they said it would be businesses would park in the area where the owners or the residents would be at work. Well, a lot of people work from home now, so I don't think that shared parking thing is really going to work. So you may want to consider adding additional parking. I had some concerns about the trees. I love trees. I've planted many a tree in my life, but I think where you place them is important. If you dot the streets where they showed on their depicted drawings, there would be nothing but tree leaves and tree remnants and limbs in the streets and in the sewers, and it would be a constant burden on city staff, Parks and Rec, whoever is in charge of maintaining that area. And, it's going to be a large area with a lot of people and traffic. I think maybe they should think about green spaces, open spaces, put the trees there. Have little places, where people can meet and greet as you would any other place in the city, and put the trees in parks rather than lining the street, because that looks like the only place they're going to be able to park. So that's my 2 cents. I wish the project well. I hope it continues on, and I will leave you for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Michelle Wren. Ma'am, if you would come forward, state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Wren. I'm the Executive Director of the Portsmouth Partnership and Bloom Co-working, which resides at 739 High Street. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, and residents, I stand before you today as an advocate for one of the most transformative initiatives our city can undertake, the development of an innovation district. Innovation districts represent more than just economic development. They are vibrant, living ecosystems that bring together entrepreneurs, educational institutions, and the very essence of urban life to create hubs of innovation, opportunity, and growth. Innovation districts are, at their core, the ultimate mashup of entrepreneurship, education, and urban living. They seamlessly integrate startups, educational partners, mixed-use developments, medical innovations, and sustainable transit systems to a cohesive, thriving community. These districts embrace complexity, density, and diversity, qualities that are often overlooked or undermined in the past, but now we recognize their importance as the foundation for a more vibrant, dynamic economy. They foster synergy between people, firms, and physical space in a way that not only generates ideas, but accelerates their commercialism, transforming and turning concepts into tangible, marketable solutions. We can look at successful models as they replicated in individuals into different cities all around the country. We can see examples of urban areas leading the ways to cities like Boston's South Waterfront and San Francisco's Mission Bay. These former industrial districts have undergone a complete renovation driven by their proximity to urban centers, historic building stocks, and advanced research institutions. They've become models of what can happen when cities reimagine their spaces, transforming them into beacons of innovation and economic vitality. What's exciting about an innovation district model is its ability to adapt. Every region has unique strengths. An innovation district can be shaped to reflect these assets. Where we focus on healthcare, technology, or education, the foundation remains the same, combining economic, physical, and networking assets in a supportive, risk-taking culture that fosters growth for small businesses. Here in the city of Portsmouth, we have all the necessary ingredients to create our own innovation ecosystem. With the right investments in infrastructure, mixed-use development, combined with partnerships from our local universities and business communities, we can build a district that serves as a magnet for talent, capital, and new ideas. The district is already well ahead by having Bloom Co-working as an anchor for the district. Bloom supports over 200 small businesses, which are 97% minority and women-owned businesses. Bloom is already a hub for collaboration and supportive programming, which help these entrepreneurs become thriving, successful businesses. I believe that developing an innovation district, we can create an even larger hub that supports these local businesses, attracts global talent, and fosters the entrepreneurial spirit that will drive our city forward. The district will not only be a place where people work, but where they live, where they collaborate, and where they innovate. It will be powered by clean energy, connected by digital technologies, and fueled by a vibrant culture of creativity and diversity. The future of Portsmouth economy depends on our ability to adapt and innovate. An innovation district is more than just an opportunity. It is necessary if we want to position our city as a leader in the 21st economy. In closing, I urge the council to support this vision. Let's create a place where innovation can thrive, where businesses can grow, and where a community can come together to shape the future. Together, we can make the district a reality that will benefit not just today's residents, but the future generations as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker, Mr. Timothy Armstrong. Sir, if you would come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, council members, my name is Timothy Armstrong. I reside at 373 Golden Star Lane, and I'm a small business owner in the Bloom co-working space at 739 High Street. We're very excited because of the innovation district that's coming our way, and we're very excited that Bloom is going to be an anchor to that district. As a matter of fact, we collectively feel that the entire 700 block should be a part of the innovation district. Why is that? That is because we have so many creatives, small businesses, and entrepreneurs in that space. It's like we're the incubation for the innovation zone because we're already innovating inside of the Bloom co-working space. And it's a wonderful community. We are a group of small business owners that lean on each other, create together, learn together, and we cooperate together. And as an anchor to the innovation district, it would be in a wonderful plus. It's almost like a pre-launch of the innovation district right in the Bloom building. And so we encourage the council to vote in the affirmative to not only move this project forward, but also to make sure that the 700 block of High Street is included in that district, because we've already started running the race and we're ready to move on with the city. I have lived all over the world, and I have lived and worked in major city centers like Singapore, Dubai, Kuala Lumpur, and Portsmouth excites me. Portsmouth is an exciting city because of all the growth and development that we're going through right now. And you can live and work in those major city centers, but nothing is exciting like being at home and seeing the growth and development that's coming about right here in our fair city. And so I just encourage you all to vote in the affirmative to include the 700 block in the district and to move the project forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Tony Goodwin. Mr. Goodwin, sir, if you would come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes.
Good evening, mayors, vice mayor, of course, city manager and city council and city staff. Thank you very much for the time to speak to you tonight. And this is an exciting time for us here in Portsmouth to see the Innovation District now finally, and the downtown districts finally stretching westward of Effingham. Historically, of course, downtown, and many of you may know, started with a vision back in the early 80s by George Hanbury, a former city manager of this city, to create what we have today from the 100 block all the way out to the 800 block and just across Chestnut Street where the original town boundary exists today. Historically, the Historic District from 2006 established even a more defined boundary into preserving historic buildings and structures that were centered around the 1940s era. But now with the talk of the Innovation District, it's an exciting time for us to see this RAISE grant that we applied for competitively and were awarded for just over $19 million to do the streetscapes beyond this section here, which I think is a great opportunity to see this vision to go much further into areas where at one point in time had legacy businesses such as Morris Parker, Pilsner's Department Store, Ambassador Enterprises, John Cool, Lincoln Mercury, the Action Cadillac dealership. The list goes on and on and on. And more importantly, this area between Green Street and Chestnut Street used to be the area of segregation that we eliminated back in the early 60s. And so now is the time to completely eliminate that separation of our town. You know, our family started buying in that block, in the 800 block, in the early 90s with an idea that there was going to be a vision of something like this magnitude to continue what we started back in the early 80s. And we're still holding on to those properties with hope and excitement to know that this is now finally coming to fruition. And so we're ready to add to that with the addition of the 900 block of High Street. And I built, of course, saving where the city wanted me to tear it down, the old cab stand on Chestnut Street. And I just was hell-bent on doing that and making sure that it was stabilized and a contributing structure to this district. So with all that said, it is an exciting time for us to continue this vision and to continue to innovate as well as foster new businesses, new ideas, and continue the progress. As we say in the real estate business, time is money. And to continue to delay this is not necessarily a good choice. We're all ready to start the process on getting things done down here. Unfortunately, we've lost a couple of good prospects due to time. And I think that can be made up really quickly with the energy and the effort that all these folks that are a part of this as stakeholders, and more importantly, people that want to see this happen for an area that's so well deserved to be a catalyst of new business, new growth, and excitement for all of us here in Portsmouth, as well as contributing to Hampton Roads as a whole. So thank you very much for your time, and we're looking forward to getting the ball rolling.
Thank you, sir. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is, I know, so there's no more speakers. We're going to proceed with the motion and second. So now we're going to proceed with the motion and the second. Do we have a motion to approve and a second?
Move adoption.
Second.
We have a dialogue and discussion, and Dr. Whitaker, you have the floor.
Yes, this is a question for the city manager. Has the city actually received the grant funds? I know the last time we discussed it, those funds hadn't been transferred yet.
I don't think we have those funds yet, but part of the reason we're ready to bring this back is because the work we're doing with that disparity study, so that there'll be no funds allocated for this before that is actually completed and ratified by you guys.
Yeah, that was my concern, because the reason that it was deferred was that, $19 million, and we didn't have any type of minority participation policy, which we still don't have in place as of today. There's been a great movement toward it.
Yes,
but I know I'm not prepared. The funds aren't here yet, so there's not a rush to do it. But there is a need to have the MWBE policy in place before we start moving towards distributing $19 million, reimbursing.
Can I say that the approval of denial of this innovation district is not the RAISE grant. The innovation district is the place where we're spending the RAISE grant.
Right.
But whether or not you approve the innovation district, we're still going to do the RAISE grant.
Right.
So the RAISE grant, so this is just to designate that area.
Right, I understand. However, there will be no renovation district movement without the $19 million.
Oh, absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
right. So that's
Yes,
why I'm saying that it needs to be tied to the passage of the MWBE policy. Because although I understand what you're saying, that this is just approving the district.
Right.
I think that we need to have that policy in place. And that's why it was deferred.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that wasn't the concern back when it was deferred. When it was deferred, it was that we were going to have this policy in place.
Okay.
Councilman Hugo, you have the floor, sir.
And thanks, Mr. Mayor. So first I want to compliment the planning department for the public planning sessions that were held. I see a lot of folks who attended those sessions along with me who turned out tonight, and I appreciate your participation with the planning department in assembling this skeleton of a plan for our innovation district. A couple of weeks ago, I attended a smart growth in housing forum at the Hampton Roads Realtors Association. During the session, the realtors who were in the room, and they were from all of the South Side communities, were asked, think about your community and where would you put it on the scale from very, very innovative to your drug kicking and screaming to the next thing. And when it came time for the folks to score out their communities, there were actually some realtors from other communities than Portsmouth who spoke up and said, when we look across Hampton Roads, we think the community that is being most innovative is Portsmouth. And it's because of this work that the planning department has done to build the skeleton. We still need to put the meat on the bones. And there's a lot of details. Ms. Clark and some others in the room have ideas on how the meat ought to go on the bones. And that's going to be important for all of us to continue to engage as we move forward with this. But I'm going to disagree with Dr. Whitaker. The $19 million to do the streetscape doesn't have anything to do with inviting businesses who are interested in coming to Portsmouth to populate our innovation district. That's what the innovation district's all about, and I think it's important that we move forward with the approval of the plan because there are businesses out there who are waiting to see, are we serious about this, or is it just $19 million to pretty up the street? If it's $19 million to pretty up the street, we're gonna have a very pretty street and nobody to walk it. And I want to get the innovation plan out there, advertised, continue the buzz that apparently has already started on our behalf because the buzz is out there if the realtors are hearing about Portsmouth being in the leading edge of innovation in Hampton Roads. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And my comments with the Innovation District is we've been waiting for quite some time, and all of the conversations that I'm attending with civic leagues and forums and just community events with a lot of leaders across the Hampton Roads region, people are waiting to see what Portsmouth is going to do. And they are excited about our Innovation District. I think we got this one right with Brian Donahue, with our Economic Development, with our Planning Commission, all coming together collaboratively to get us to this point. I think that we need to move in a direction where we establish this because we've already claimed it as our Innovation District. It's a matter of council approving the option for it to be labeled as such. And it's not only the $19 million, we're only talking about the $19 million from the RAISE grant, but we neglect to also add that there was $4 million from the state, which makes it $23 million. And that came from our President Pro Tempore, Senator L. Louise Lucas, who added an additional $4 million to this to make it a total of $23 million that we will have to work with. Now, I agree with my colleagues that we do need to have our minority business enterprise policy and procedure in place. But I think that by us going ahead and approving and identifying this, putting it on the map for the region, we would be well served to do that by proceeding with our approval today.
Colleagues, do we have a motion in a second already? Okay, I have to be reminded sometimes when we go through these lengthy discussions. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a motion in a second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 6-1.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna continue with the agenda, and thank you all at this time. City Manager's Report. We're moving to the next item on the agenda, which is City Manager's Report. And the first item on the City Manager's Report is item 24-245. And Madam Clerk, could you please read the ordinance that we're considering for this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting home investment partnership program income in the amount of $2,900 and appropriated said amount in the FY 2025 Community Planning and Development Program Fund budget for authorized uses under the home program.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
The next item, item 24-246. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we're considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir, an ordinance accepting Virginia Broadband Affordability and Planning Grant Funding in the amount of $23,985 for the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Grants Fund for use by the Department of Information Technology to conduct needs assessments and develop strategies to promote digital opportunity in the city.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
Okay. This item is adopted 7-0.
Our next item, item 24-247. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir, an ordinance accepting summer food service program grant funding in the amount of $499,113.04 from the Virginia Department of Education, and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Grants Fund for use by the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Item 24-248. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering for this item?
Yes, sir, an ordinance accepting state aid in the amount of $37,457 provided by the Commonwealth of Virginia as a result of the Library of Virginia's revised calculation of funding based on the Commonwealth's final adopted budget, and appropriated said amount to the FY 2025 general fund budget for use by the Portsmouth Public Library.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Madam Clerk, please read, item 24-249. Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering under this item?
Yes, sir, an ordinance accepting with appreciation a donation in the amount of $300 from J&J Restaurants, Inc., and appropriating said amount to the Police Department category of the FY 2025 General Fund budget for use by the Portsmouth Police Department for National Night Out.
Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Item 24-250. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir, an ordinance accepting Safer Communities Program grant funding in the amount of $2,935,300 from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services, and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Grants Fund budget for use by the Police Department to address root causes and conditions of community violence.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, please vote electronically. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I missed that. Let's back up. Councilman Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
So I know these funds are going to be going to like community groups. My question is, are those groups only consist of the groups in Portsmouth, or will they be allocated to people outside the city as well?
Mr. Carter, sir, you have the floor.
We may use groups that don't actually reside in Portsmouth, but it will be, their programs will be for Portsmouth. You understand what I'm saying there? Not, you don't have to live here as your business, don't have to have an address that's residence here. But the program that you're executing from these dollars will need to be allocated to Portsmouth. Just like the Next Gen group, they're all over the place. But the dollar, if we gave them dollars, those dollars would have to be allocated for Portsmouth.
So I think you know how I feel about that. I'm Portsmouth homegrown, and I would rather we have enough organizations in the city of Portsmouth to make sure that we allocate to those people, because one, they have a invested interest here. They're from here. Most of them grew up here, so I think they will be more well adapted to tackle the issues that we have here. For me, I would like to see that this goes to Portsmouth groups, to Portsmouth citizens. I just don't see the benefit of supporting people outside our city when it comes to dealing with our problem. And that's been consistent with me when it comes to everything. So for me, I just have a issue with just giving money for programs in Portsmouth to address Portsmouth issues to other people.
I understand, and I fully understand what you're saying. As we're trying to roll out programs, if there's no opportunity in Portsmouth, that doesn't negate the fact that we still need the program. So,
but when it comes to this, we have over 100 opportunities, so that's irrelevant to this particular issue right here. We don't have a situation where there's not enough for this. We literally on our website we have 40 some groups, and then we got over 50, 60 more that's not included on our website. So I get what you're saying, but when it comes to this particular thing, we don't have a shortage of that.
Well, if that is the case, then they will get the money. I can't tell you how we're going to allocate the money today. If we have a Portsmouth group that can handle it, oh, absolutely. We prefer to go do Portsmouth also. But I can't tell you how we're going to allocate the money today.
So when will you be able to tell us that?
When we put a program together to actually start allocating it.
But it wouldn't come back to us to get that information first.
No, we'll advise you on what we've done with it.
We have a motion and a second on the floor, and we have a call for the vote, so please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 24-251. Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering at this time?
An ordinance accepting problem gambling prevention program funding in the amount of $12,500 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health Care and Developmental Services and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Behavioral Health Care Service Fund for use by BHS to provide services designated to address problems gambling.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a
Move for
second.
adoption.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Item 24-252. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering for this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting STEP VA funding in the amount of $290,558 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Behavioral Health Care Service Fund to implement required services.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Next item, item 24-253. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance we are considering under this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting permanent supportive housing funds in the amount of $830,462 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Behavioral Healthcare Service Fund for rental assistance and support services.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Do we have any additional discussion? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next item, item 24-254. And Madam Clerk, could you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting projects for assistance in the transition from homeless funding in the amount of $4,280 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Behavioral Healthcare Service Fund for training, travel, and outreach services.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption. Second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Our next item, item 24-255. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting substance use community-based expansion funds in the amount of $196,775.15 from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Behavioral Healthcare Service Fund for use by BHS to provide treatment to the uninsured and underinsured substance use disorder population.
Thank you, ma'am. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Any additional discussion on this item? Please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
The next item, item 24-256. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance that we are considering pertaining to this item?
Yes, sir. An ordinance accepting settlement funds in the amount of $194,086.72 from various opioid settlement accounts and appropriating said amount in the FY 2025 Behavioral Healthcare Service Fund for use by BHS for approved abatement purposes as defined by the Virginia Opioid Fund and Settlement Allocation MOU.
Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Is there additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
This next item has two parts to it, item A and item B. Item 24-257. And Madam Clerk, would you please read item A, the adoption of the ordinance we are considering?
Yes, sir. 1 second. An ordinance authorizing the appropriation of $1.4 million from the fund balance of the general fund to the non-departmental benefits retiree supplement line item in the FY 2025 general fund budget for the purpose of funding a one-time supplement in the gross amount of $1,500 to beneficiaries under the Portsmouth Supplemental Retirement and the Fire and Police Retirement System.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we do have a couple of speakers for this particular item. Our first speaker for item A will be Mark Godaldig Yatrovsky. Mr. Yatrovsky, if you would come forward and state your name and address, sir, you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and other neighbors. I have a strong sense of deja vu. I can recall standing at this podium 5 months ago addressing this very topic. And unfortunately, I must not have given a very effective presentation because I'm having to address it again. In the city manager's budget message for fiscal year 2025, there was a very significant statement. It was extremely interesting because at the time we had a consulting city manager. And it was an unusual position for the city manager to be in because she had nothing to lose by telling the unvarnished truth. And her statement said that, in essence, I'm paraphrasing, the best use of funds in terms of contributions to the legacy retirement plans was to bolster the balance in the funds. In this year's budget, the 2025 fiscal year's budget, we are contributing, we the taxpayers, are contributing $19.4 million to those two legacy funds. Part of that is the debt service on the pension obligation bonds that we incurred several years ago. The other part is the required annual contribution to maintain our progress toward 80% funding of the two pension funds. So what you're proposing to do is reach into the magic cookie jar rather than touching the funds that are already allocated to the pension. I guess that's the better way to do it if you're going to do the bad thing. It's the less bad thing to do. The magic cookie jar being my term for fund balance. I see that as similar to the large mythological beast referenced in some versions of Peter, Paul, and Mary's Puff the Magic Dragon, in that it is a mathematical calculation. This fund doesn't really exist. It's a calculation that determines at a given point in time what the difference is between what the city allocated for a given fiscal year and what it actually spent. But the problem is, this was not taken up in budget time, so the public had no input into the formulation of this as a priority. It's brought back now, as has so often been done, in off-season, when people's attention is elsewhere, and the use of that fund balance. We don't actually know what that fund balance is because nobody in authority has made any public announcement of what it is. So you're dealing dirty, down and dirty to the public on this particular item. It should not occur in this fashion. In my view, it should not occur at all, but that would be another whole dissertation. So I ask you to forbear and go with the budget as it was decided on May 14th. And for you to take up consideration of Part B and have that discussion in next year's budget process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Dr. Bill Dotson. Dr. Dotson, if you will come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes, sir.
Oh, I asked for after.
You were signed up, sir, as a speaker for this item. You do not wish to speak? Okay. Our next speaker is Mr. Garland Alexander. You come forward, state your name and address, sir. You will have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Garland Alexander. I live at 2913 Tanbark Lane, Portsmouth, Virginia. I'm here representing firefighters, Local 539 retirees in the old retirement system. I will be speaking on the item 24-252A. We are requesting your support the $1,500 supplement to the benefactors of the police and fire retirement system and the other supplemental system. This should be the easiest vote you'll cast this year. At the last meeting, we had a consensus by the six council was here, unanimous support of this. This should be the easiest, do the right thing and vote yes on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, I just want to say that I was not at the last council meeting when this discussion took place. I was out of town. My issue with what is being presented to us is an equity issue. That is, the question that has not been really addressed is that at some point back in time, there was a choice that persons had to either stay with this Portsmouth plan or go to VRS. For some reason, some of you decided to stay with the Portsmouth system. And there were other employees that decided to go to VRS. That was a decision you all made back years ago. And now you're presenting to us an issue about a cost of living increase. The equity issue I have with it is that we're not taking that into account with the other plan. And also another equity issue is that for those who went with the Portsmouth plan, you had an opportunity to work for Portsmouth and actually retire and go and work in another system and get VRS. The question that, and the data that has not been presented to the city, which I can't vote on this blanketly, is that there are some of you who are getting 2 retirements plus this cost of living increase. And that should not be. That's not fair. That's not fair. So it's not an easy vote because the data has not been presented. And I would be interested in knowing, and I think council should, before it just makes an investment like this, that you can't treat everyone in that fund the same if you don't know if there were those who retired, then went to a VRS system. They're getting double pay. And I think that's a fair assessment. Now, it may not apply to all of you, but I got a feeling it applies to some of you. And so my vote against it is an equity issue. And I haven't heard council get that information. And I would think that would be pertinent information to have before you just decide to give someone a cost of living and not knowing whether the group, because I think there are some who don't come before council and speak who are in some higher socioeconomic statuses that did benefit that way. And so to just do it blanketly, I'm not in favor of that. That's not a question to you. That's a statement.
Thank you, sir. So those were all of our registered speakers for that item. So now I would ask my colleagues, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion on this item? I would ask everyone please to vote electronically.
This item is adopted 6-1.
The next item is 24-257, item B. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the resolution that we are considering for item B?
A resolution establishing a policy regarding the budgeting and payment of supplements to beneficiaries of the Fire and Police Retirement System and the Portsmouth Supplemental Retirement System.
Thank you, ma'am. And we do have 2 registered speakers for that item. The first speaker is Mark Godaldig-Yutrovsky. Sir, if you would come forward, state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes.
Mayor, council, and other neighbors. So if you are going to give supplemental allowances to retirees, certainly the way to do it is as specified in the language for this section, because it does fall within the budget framework. The means of paying for it doesn't come out of the magic cookie jar, but it comes out of ordinary revenue. However, I stated on my card that I am partially supportive. I have two major problems with this concept of supplements. Going back to my earlier statement, the best way to support the legacy funds is to put more money into the funds directly, because that allows the funds to do what they're supposed to do, which is invest in instruments that have growth and earnings potential and return those earnings to the fund and its participants. That's what my own retirement funds do. I was in the private sector, but we had an arrangement that was not dissimilar from this particular one. The problem is when a pension fund is below a certain threshold and you have a small number of participants, money is going out and money is coming in, and money isn't hanging around long enough to provide investment returns. And so the natural increase within the fund itself that would make it possible to pay regular cost of living increases, it's not there. You don't have the cash investment that has to be there if you have to cash out to pay this month's disbursements, and it can't stay working for you. So you're defeating the purpose. The amount that's proposed, the amount that was approved is of small benefit to the people who were described at the bottom tier of the plan. It's a little over $100 more a month. Well, if you're at the $12,000 a year income level, as a speaker mentioned back in July, that's not going to make a significant difference in your quality of life. So you're going at it the wrong way. The other point I want to make is those folks who are in the supplemental retirement system received an increase of thousands of dollars a year at the same time that we acquired pension obligation bonds, because we erased the Social Security offset. People in the fire and police fund don't have Social Security. Social Security has an automatic annual cost of living adjustment built into it. So those folks who are receiving full Social Security benefits along with their pensions are receiving cost of living adjustments already. And they're receiving significantly more than the plan in its original framing allowed for. There is no need for them to be receiving supplemental payments. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Garland Alexander. Sir, if you come forward, state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes.
Garland Alexander, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. I live at 2913 Tanbark Lane, Portsmouth, Virginia. And I'll be speaking on the 2457B. To address some of the items that was brought up that I talk about, the widows that make $12,000 a year, for somebody to say $1,500 don't make very much difference to them, I take offense to that, because that's a pretty good percentage, and it goes to the people that need it the most. And yes, the systems were closed in July of 95 in the fire department. And I think George Hanbury closed the system. We didn't have a chance to vote one way or the other. They did take a vote earlier than that. And he's right, they did do away with the offset for the ones in the Portsmouth supplemental system. But the most money, if you go with a percentage, he talked about a percentage, the percentage helps the people at the top. This one-time shot, although it would be nice with inflation built into it or something like that, but it helps the people that need it the most. And that's all I can say, and it would be, and like I said before, we did have a unanimous consent hand show, and yes, there was one absent. Dr. Whitaker was not there at that meeting in a work session. And I would ask you to do the right thing on this and vote yes on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council members, we are in need of a motion and a second.
Move adoption.
Second.
And is there any additional discussion? Hold on, I do have a point that I want to make regarding this. You know, when I look at it historically, and I've had a lot of conversations with the retirees, one thing that I hear overwhelmingly, and many of my colleagues probably hear it too, that the city doesn't care about the retirees. And I really think we should be careful when we say those things, because for one, remember, the city and the citizens borrowed $168 million. Yes, all of the citizens shared in that risk. And so when you make statements that the citizens in the city don't care about the retirees, I do not think that's a fair statement. And in talking with my colleagues, as long as I have been on council, we have dealt with this issue. And we have talked about providing perhaps a remedy. And a remedy would be to help those individuals who are at the lower earning spot, to provide them some type of cost of living increase. So citizens need to know this is not a situation where council doesn't care. But to Dr. Whitaker's point, we do need to be fair and equitable across the board, because everybody didn't get that. Everybody that retired. And the truth of the matter is, we have tough decisions to make as leaders. And we don't make decisions just because we want to impact one group adversely versus another group. We want to help all of our citizens in need. And I just thought it was important that I state that so all of the citizens can understand we do care about our retirees, all of our retirees, and we do intend to do what's fair. So this resolution that is going forward, I would ask that me and my colleagues work very diligently along with the city manager and our city team to put in a process where we don't have to have this back and forth and people bad-mouthing the city leadership in the community, because we're one family here. We're one Portsmouth, and we care about all of our people. And that is being demonstrated in a thoughtful way that we're moving forward. So I just wanted to say that. And now, would you please vote electronically?
This item is adopted 6-1.
That concludes our city manager's report. We are now to the item of new business, item 24-258, boards and commissions. And Vice Mayor, do we have any boards and commissions to report tonight?
No, Mayor, we have no boards and commissions for today.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item is item 24-259, items submitted by council members? Are there any items submitted by council members? Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, this is for the city manager. Could we get an update on there was a fire at 3846 Augustine Circle, and there has been a Virginia Department of Labor and Virginia Occupation and Safety Health report that has come back. Can you update council on that? Yes, sir. All right, thank you. And then the last,
Yes, sir.
the open space agreement, is that for next meeting's agenda? Public work?
We have to work with the city assessor. We're gonna work together.
Okay.
Before I can give you a definite date on that.
Okay, all right.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. A few weeks ago, I inquired about the resurfacing of Cedar Lane. And I think it was said that the rings that would equalize the height difference between the new pavement and the manhole covers, those rings were on order. What's the status of those, if, Mr. Manager, if anyone can speak to that?
We don't have anyone in from our engineering department here tonight, but I can get a report back to you on that pretty quickly.
Okay, great. The other thing is, I think it'd be good if council got a update on the bike trail. That's gonna be a multi-city situation. I'm hearing that the trail, even though it's not completed, it's not being maintained. There's a lot of overgrowth and erosion and piles of rocks and different things that are creating a biking hazard as it is. People are using what's available at this point in time. But Mr. Manager, if you can give us an update on that and also address some of the overgrowth situations, particularly along, I think, the West Norfolk Road portion of that trail. Thanks.
Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. This, Mr. City Manager, just asking for a status request on, I believe we had some email information about campaign signage, and there was some requests. Early voting will begin next week, and I know that there are some candidates that are eager to hear if the signs can be placed permanently for the 45-period duration of the early voting.
You have the floor, City Manager Carter.
Yes, sir. I've talked extensively with a lot of people about this, and I guess the tradition has been to allow the signs. We will allow the signs again this year. We're going to use the same process that we've used previously. I don't think the size of the signs is going to create a problem. However, from all the input that I've gotten is that most people still think removing them at night is still the way to go for this. We can reevaluate this as we move forward, but I'm not going to make changes just because, again, I'm trying to understand the whole process. This was brand new to me of candidates being able to put signs on city property. That was brand new when I heard that. So instead of changing it, we'll just stay with the way it was.
Okay. I have two more. Another one is trucks that are being illegally parked in Mount Herman. There was an old Albano Cleaners location that is now not there. It's been destroyed, vacated, demolished, and it's just a vacant lot. And there's neighbors on the Mount Herman side of that street where those big wheelers, for lack of, different trucks, rigs, sometimes with the rig, sometimes without the chases, is parking on that vacant lot. Is illegal activity. And because Albano used to have Dominion lighting there, and now that there's nothing there but an empty lot, there's no lighting, and the streets are completely black. And one neighbor even had Dominion to place a light on a pole, which she's paying, just so that she can have light on the street. And there's other illegal activity, probably some drug use and probably some other illegal activity as well going on that lot. And citizens are really concerned. They're tearing the curves down when they go through. And because of it now, the streets are flooding because of the big dips in the street.
Yeah, I got that from you, and so we're working through a process on that, but I can give you an update on where we are in a report back, because that's more than a one thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. And my last one is the update on the sewer station at Douglas Avenue. The neighbors directly behind Douglas Avenue are complaining of raw sewage leaking over into their yards. And I don't know what's going on with the sewer station, if something is broken with the pump system or just what, but there's an issue with that. And also believe a 4 to 6 foot hole that's open, a manhole or something that's not covered, and they're concerned about their pets and maybe some kids playing around that could fall into that. Yes, I do. I can pull it up for you. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. There's one other item I wanted to bring up, and that's pump stations. I think it'd be good to get an update on the number of pump stations that are still relying on auxiliary pumping. I know at one time we were paying quite a bit of money to haul away the waste from the pump stations that are offline. So if you could give us an update on that, Mr. Manager, that'd be good.
And I have a couple of items real quick. Tomorrow in the city of Portsmouth, we will be having our September 11th remembrance ceremony, 11 a.m., I believe, at the High Street flagpole. All of our citizens, everyone is invited, and I expect and I hope that we will see a great turnout for that event. In addition, I want to let everyone know that for the first time in the history of Portsmouth, on October the 4th and 5th in the city, we will have the Filipino Festival. It's called PhilFest 2024. It is where the Filipino community will come to the city of Portsmouth from throughout the 757 and the United States to celebrate their culture. We're excited to have them come here to the city of Portsmouth. And I will add this little bit for those lumpia eaters. They will have a lumpia eating contest. So if you are so inclined to participate, more information to follow. But that will be at Festival Park, and we're really excited about that. It's something new for the city of Portsmouth, and we always want to welcome folks to come here and see our great city. And that's all I have. So Attorney Graham-Williams, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just wanted to announce to the citizens that the Legal Aid Society, in collaboration with the City Attorney's Office, is sponsoring a free legal planning seminar for senior homeowners and those family members who have senior homeowners in their family. On Saturday, September 14th, here at the main branch library, there are going to be attorneys from the Legal Aid Society and other local estate planning firms that will be providing free services to help you with powers of attorney, wills, and other documents free of charge. That's going to be at the Portsmouth Main Branch Library. That's at 601 Court Street, September 14th, and it is from 12:30 to 4. There's some postings on the city's website and also, I believe, on Facebook. So please come out. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Barnes, sir, you have the floor.
Just really quick, I just want to give a shout out to Portsmouth Public Schools and our children attending Portsmouth Public Schools. As we know, school started 3 weeks ago, so I just want to wish them a good school year, both the school system and the children.
Thank you, sir. Next item, item 24-260, report on pending items. Manager Carter. Do you have any items to report on, sir?
None verbally, sir, but there is a report back in your binders. Everybody should have that this evening. That's the only thing I have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have now come to the part of our,
One quick thing.
no, go ahead, sir, please.
Gonna say with the report backs, could we get them in an email like in advance, like maybe the Friday before? Yeah.
Next item, item 24-261, non-agenda speakers. And Madam Clerk, would you please read the speaker's statement?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks shall be directed to the city council as a body rather than any particular member of city council, staff, or the audience, and should be limited to matters that only the Portsmouth City Council can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our first speaker is Mr. Harold Carruthers III. Sir, if you would come forward, state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes.
Harold Carruthers, 1616 Belafonte Drive. And boy, Lord gonna have to work with me on this one, because, man, some of the things that I've been sitting here watching y'all do is quite crazy. Like, he just sat there and said about the citizens showing love and feeling love from the city. That ain't what I'm seeing. As a person that's sitting here and saying this, we got a guy right here, a firefighter, which we got issues hiring firefighters and police officers and cities workers. This man, Ryan, he's sitting here trying to get help, a cost of living adjustment. That's the same thing that everybody's fighting for. I don't even see how that's an issue. That's really an issue? And to sit and say what somebody else gonna get and how they're gonna get it, that is quite disrespectful to the workers and the people that wanna come to Portsmouth and work. And as a person that's been around to a lot of other states, all we got is the reputation, and they don't know the people here in Portsmouth like we know the people here in Portsmouth. The only thing they know is what they see y'all do. And what they see y'all do is quite embarrassing to the city and state. I mean, you sit and say that you care about the people in Portsmouth. What about the people in Charlestown townhomes? I got the letter on that, and I know each and every one of y'all got the letter on that. The letter about what's going on with them people in Charlestown. You said you smell raw sewage. I went out there to check on them people, and it smelled like raw sewage out there. And the issue is that them houses were sold to them people from this city, and as soon as they got the mortgage and everything in their name, they're pretty much being extorted out their money. They get notices every week about them about to get put out their houses because of an almost $1 million judgment that is owed on that property. Now, I don't see nobody while we talking about minority issues and making sure this person gets situated and this person get right. I ain't see nobody speak up on that. That's number one. Number two, we talking about September the 11th. You know, I did some research, and I was doing research about the area of Portsmouth, and I got down to that monument. And being that, you know, January 6th happened, and a lot of people was prosecuted about this monument, I was trying to understand what happened here. Because that was illegal. I mean, you can clearly see from the videos that somebody from this council gave them permission to go and do that would cause the person to get injured. That man almost lost his life. That ain't love for the city, and that ain't love for your people. And what's crazy is this happened with June 10th, 2020. That means everybody up here came in after that. I ain't hear nobody speak up on that. So what's getting me is, how do y'all claim that y'all care and y'all love the city, but what y'all doing is completely destroying the city? I hear y'all talk about minority and we in poverty. The truth is, if something wrong with a plant, you don't change the dirt, you change the environment around that. What's wrong with the people out here is that y'all putting them in a messed up situation where they are dependent on everybody because y'all not giving them the natural resources that y'all deserve, that they should get. As I sitting out looking out, as I was doing this research on that, like, I was, as a police officer that day on June 10th, 2020, that lady Angela Green did her job. She was the only person that stand up for the city of Portsmouth. Like everybody I'm sitting here looking at right now, she stood up for her job. And y'all left her out there to dry. Y'all left her out there for dead. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all left her out there for dead. That ain't love for the city. And the people that that voted for each and every one of y'all to be up here, they want y'all to look out for the city, not your own personal interests. And sometimes your own personal interests, you had to slide that to the side to make sure that these people get what they need to get done right. Just treat it like just regular human beings. And another thing I sit up here and I heard racism and discrimination up here each and every day. The definition of minority are the less number, meaning that it's 51% of black people here and it's 49% of white people here in Portsmouth. So who's the minority? It ain't the blacks. And another thing, you know that's discrimination? Your job ain't to see about this person get right. Your job is for equality and to make sure everybody in the city get right. Because I'm going to tell you like this, as a person that has been hurt, when I was on that floor and the ambulance pulled up on me, I thank God they ain't say, you know what, I want to give a black man the opportunity this time, and left me on the ground to wait for a black person to pull up. I thank God when the police officer came and when we call them for our parents and all the issues that we may have, I thank God that they don't sit there and say, you know what, oh, he black, I'm gonna see it to the side. I'm gonna let I'm gonna let a black man come in here and get it. No, they don't do that. And see, that ain't what y'all job is. Y'all job is to show respect to each and every person here in this city, black or white. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care about no party, because the party that we all stand for should be self. Y'all vote independent, you say independent. The party you should stand for is Portsmouth. Y'all sit up here talking about all the good we doing. You ain't did nothing good. Y'all won't even clean the schools. Portsmouth is the worst school system ever. And won't none of y'all speak about that. Sit around here talking about this, that, and the third, and how you got this person and these kids and that. You know what? You owe them kids your life. Because for the past 4 years, if a child in 5th grade right now, give them a test on 5th grade level and see where they at. Because I do that. And you know where they at? They in the 1st grade. That means they lost 4 years of their life. In the next 4 years, each and every one of y'all that's in here, just know that y'all, that's 33% of their life gone. And what they're not learning, it's on each and every one of y'all. So if you really care about the city, do them a favor and quit.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Gary Bahena. Mr. Bahena, if you would come forward, state your name and address, sir, you will have 5 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, my Vice Mayor, City Manager, City Attorney, and fellow council members. My name is Gary Bahena. I live at 428 North Street here in Old Town. I'm here as I am every year after the paddle battle to give you a wrap-up on what happened, how much we raised for our 2 museums, our maritime museums, and most importantly at the end to thank the city and its employees, its staff that we work so closely with that make it a successful event. I'm president of the Friends of the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard Museum. We were founded in 1962, incorporated in 79. Since 62, we've been supporting the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard Museum. For the last 6 years, 5 years, we've also taken on at the city's request, at the museum's request, the Lightship Museum as part of our responsibility. We just concluded the 4th annual Portsmouth Paddle Battle on Saturday. It's a kayak and SUP race, as many of you know. It's not just a race. We have children's activities. We have entertainment. We have a lot of things going on that day. I was glad to see the city manager there. Mr. Carter, you are the first city manager who's bothered to come to the event. Thank you very much, and I have a gift for you when we're done. You're not to use this on staff, but you can use it on council. We had a slow start for fundraising this year, but we finished at just under $16,000, which is not our best, not our worst, but a very good number. We had a number of people who upgraded. We lost some sponsors, but we had a surprising number of people who upgraded from one level to another level, to a higher level. And that's a testament to, I think, the support that we have from the people who've been watching us over the years. Most of our racers signed up in the last 10 to 14 days, and if you were watching the weather for that weekend like I was, and like our entire volunteer team was, you'll know that it wasn't a very good forecast for that Saturday. Unfortunately, by the time it turned pleasant on Wednesday, most people had made other plans. We did have a good turnout. We were down from prior years. What was an improvement is that all but 2 people who signed up in advance showed up for the race. That was a very high percentage of people to show up. We had a number of new things that we did for our racers, and we've had a very positive response from our racers, many of whom came up to me at the race or at the after party at Barron's afterwards to say they're coming back next year. We expect a net about $8,000 this year, which is generally our goal, something between $8,000 and $10,000. It's our second highest in the 4 years that we've done it. We're working to improve on that in the future because the money we raised, everything the Friends do, is for the benefit of our 2 maritime museums. On safety, we had a total of 6 on-water vessels for safety. I made a promise to Lavor's Pace, which I remind you all every year, when he very reluctantly and warily, as city manager, approved the first paddle battle. I said, Lavor's, I promise you, nobody hurt in the water. We know what we're doing. We'll keep them safe, and we still have a perfect record in that regard. Junior paddle battle, I mentioned last time, we're going to work closely with the city manager to see if we can't pull that off with the city next year. We already have $2,500 committed from one sponsor. It'll be our first platinum sponsor. If we can pull it off, they're going to put $2,500 toward that event. The junior paddle battle is really to try to get an opportunity for kids in the city, 8 to 14, to experience water events that they don't normally get to experience. As I've said before, we have a unique partnership with the city. 100% of the net proceeds used by the Friends, all the money that the Friends have, is devoted to those 2 museums, Shipyard Museum and the Lightship Museum. A portion of the paddle battle proceeds in each of the 4 years has gone to our IC Norfolk Naval Shipyard Oral History Project. We continue to work on that in the hope of developing a unique exhibit for the museums. I want to recognize a number of the city departments and personnel that support us, and if I go over, I hope we'll be allowed to finish. We work closely with Parks and Recs on planning, and then looking back in the event and see how it can be made to be better the next time, not just for our racers, but for the people in the city of Portsmouth. I want to thank Mark Pelamarchik and Renee Spratley, as we always do, and this year I want to add Khadijah Chapman to the list. She took over a lot of the special event stuff for the Parks and Recs, and she's been just a joy to work with. We work closely with Peter Glagola and Keith Toller to market the paddle battle, both of whom spend many hours working with us to design a marketing program. Keith actually sits on our steering committee.
Please finish, sir,
Okay.
your acknowledgements.
Keith actually sits on the steering committee and attends our meetings monthly. We start in January planning this thing, and we really appreciate the help from the city on that. We want to thank Chief Nestor Mangelbet for providing the fireboat so that we have EMTs on the water in case something goes wrong. We want to thank Chief Jenkins, who loans us and rents us police officers to keep the place safe. The city's equipment crew from Parks and Rec are fantastic at coordinating where all the equipment goes, and even when I make last-minute changes the morning of an event. I want to thank Anthony Freeman and his team, Tony DeBro, Vernon Kearney, Kelly Short, David Mason, Dwayne Mills, and Daryl Roberts, all of whom were on site at 6:30 in the morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I want to thank, although Thomas Stallings retired from the city's fabulous electrical crew, Darren Stevens stepped up and did a wonderful job in making sure that all those outlets that we need to power the different things that we have going on there were in place. Dr. Michael Hogan with the Shipyard Museum, I want to thank him for loaning us additional tents, tables, and chairs after we exhausted the entire city supply of tents, tables, and chairs. And I want to thank so many other city employees that I'm sure that I've left out, including Mary Watson at Waste Management and the wonderful people at Signs and Signals. Whenever I speak to a group about the Portsmouth Paddle Battle, I tell everyone about the amazing partnership that we have with the city. And I emphasize that we could not put on this wonderful event without the city. So my last thank you is, thank you, Portsmouth.
And before you walk away, Mr. Bahena, we are a grateful city, and we thank you and all of the volunteers who work countless hours to put this event on. It's appreciated, and I hope that you will share that with your team.
And if I may approach the city manager?
Please, just don't hit them with the paddle.
Thank you for coming, and a gift from us. It's a first place trophy for the paddle battle. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, just one comment. Mr. Bahena forgot to mention that the military challenge race was won by the Navy.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Miss Felita Bolden. Miss Bolden, if you would come forward, state your name and address, ma'am. You will have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Felita Bolden, 4700 George Washington Highway, Portsmouth, Virginia, 23702. My name is Felita Bolden, and I serve as the Director of Community Health for Bon Secours Hampton Roads. And I'm here with Monica Atkins, founder of Stop the Violence 757, and I'm proud to announce her new role as Program Coordinator, Facilitator for a new program we would like to introduce to the City Council and residents of Portsmouth, Kids in Grief. Kids in Grief is a unique program designed to provide grief support for children ages 3 to 18 who have experienced the loss of a loved one. Kids in Grief helps children process their grief, identity, and communicate their emotions, utilize healthy coping skills, and ultimately make better choices into adulthood. Kids in Grief was a program founded by Beth, who was a bereavement coordinator, after offering several short-term children grief support groups. And when the program was formed, Beth wanted the program not to be named after a person that was deceased, but she wanted to incorporate with the Toys R Us, make it fun and entertaining, combining play, art, games, music, and discussion to help children process their grief in a safe space. Monica and I had an opportunity to witness firsthand volunteers at the Kids in Grief in Newport News, which Bon Secours currently owns. We had to hold back our tears as we watched facilitators, volunteers, who are not paid, just one paid staff. And we watched children express themselves with grief and art and play. For example, it was one kid that was very tough the whole time, didn't say a word. But the facilitator asked, did anyone, the loved one who passed, did he leave you anything that you could cherish or remember? And this tough guy, for the first time, we heard him speak. And he said, yeah, my dad left my cell phone. And he was proud of that. But to actually have a program where children can talk about their loved ones, speak about their loved ones, and to talk, and for them to remember, we're proud, Bon Secours, to have that same program come here to Portsmouth, Kids in Grief. And so this program, not anyone could run this program. So we looked, and here, standing right next to me, out of her own tragedy, was Monica, who started Stop the Violence 757 from her son. We're so proud that she'll be facilitating our Kids in Grief in Portsmouth. We're doing an abbreviated version over here in Portsmouth. Like I said, it's already currently a Bon Secours community health program on the peninsula. We're starting our Kids in Grief after-school program in 3 of Portsmouth elementary schools, Brighton Elementary, Douglas Park, and Parkview Elementary School. So we just wanted to make the residents of Portsmouth know that we know trauma as well as violence in our community, but we have a place for children 3 to 18 to come to our Kids in Grief program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Bowden. And before you step away, I would, yes, thank you very much, but I would like to say to you, thank you and Bon Secours for your commitment, and to our friend, Miss Monica Atkins, who started Stop the Violence 757. We're grateful that you are so committed to the welfare and well-being of our families and children. I've heard your story numerous times, and it's still impactful. So I would just ask that you continue to do the work that you have been called to do, and we're here to support all of those kinds of efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Mr. Sergio Neal. Mr. Neal, if you would come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. My name is Sergio Neal. I reside at 1420 M Avenue here in the city of Portsmouth. I just wanted to start off by saying, you know, a lot of times when people come here and they are new to the city and they take on roles, you know, they really have to absorb a lot and, get caught up to what is taking place. And I think Mr. Carter has really done a good job. I also think that he's taken a lot and been able to maintain the position that he's going to do his job as city manager, and he's going to do it in a method that he sees fit in order to get this city to where it needs to go, regardless of what some outside voices that sit on this council might think. I've seen how the conversation has flowed, especially tonight, and I can assure you, Mr. Carter, the citizens, the majority of us are behind you in your efforts. Moving on, I want to bring something to the city council's attention. Maybe they could help the school system out with this as well. Apparently, there is an issue of safety at our school bus stops. I would ask that the city take a look at what can be done to support the school system and to ensure the student safety at the bus stops. I know the sheriff's department is the primary entity that deals with school safety as they provide the SROs. However, I think it would behoove the city council and our police department to support them as far as providing, police officers that are patrolling, make sure that we have those patrols stepped up when students are boarding the bus in the morning, especially in those neighborhoods that have some challenging circumstances among the youth. Prentice Park is one of them. And the reason why I bring it up, because I've seen it in the morning. Unfortunately, we've had some people to move into that neighborhood that have had a not so well history in neighborhoods they come from. They have started some issues at our school bus stops in the morning, primarily when our high school and middle schools are picked up. So I would ask, that we do what we can to support the school system and the sheriff's department to make sure that those kids get on the bus and are transported safely to the school. A lot of times, we look at school safety, we think it's only at the schoolhouse. Well, I can tell you that school safety actually starts at the bus stop. Case in point, unfortunately, a neighboring city, Newport News, had a 15-year-old who was killed today at a school bus stop. And I really think it would. That's a situation that is very unfortunate, and unfortunately, it causes some reactive things to happen, but I'm on the side of being proactive and making sure that we do what we need to do to prevent those situations from occurring in the first place. I know we have a lot of technology that's going on, that's being implemented, as far as, to promote safety in our city. I would ask, if we could do a look at putting some cameras at our school bus stops, especially in areas that have a high crime rate amongst our youth, and it would just to make sure that the schools have an extra set of eyes on their students, because I know our school buses are now equipped with all of them are equipped with cameras now. We need to look at actually putting some cameras at the school bus stop as well, so they can have a full 360 approach in the effort of school safety. As a parent of school-age kids, I tell you, some of our parents don't believe what their kids do at the bus stop or do, period, anywhere. And I can almost guarantee you, if they had an opportunity to view some of the footage of what these kids are doing in the street, period, it might change their mind. Also, too, on a slightly different note, I would like to ask that whatever we're doing as a city to make sure that in the effort of developing a juvenile detention facility, we really take a good, hard look at that and make sure we do that in an expeditious manner, because right now we have a lot of kids that are unfortunately being returned to the streets because we really don't have a facility here in this city to house them. And the sad part is those kids are transported to Bristol when they meet a whole lot of extra circumstances, and it's left up to an unfortunate situation where they have no other choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mark Godaldig-Yachowski.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council, and other neighbors. So you had originally planned to discuss your legislative agenda in the work session. And apropos of that, I wanted to add some items to the potential list of requests. So first, I would like to see the ward system come back to Portsmouth. I feel that with an at-large election system, there is no real accountability here. A citywide system increases the cost of elections to council seats, and people end up with no direct representative for their neighborhoods. So I propose a ward system with 7 wards, and that would apply to the school board as well as to the city council. The mayor and the chair of the school board would be elected from the city as a whole. In conjunction with the change in the allocation of representation, I believe the mayor should have some new responsibilities in terms of hiring and firing of council appointees. The mayor would not have a veto per se, but it would still require a majority vote to hire or fire, but the mayor must be a part of that majority. It would be good to have somebody who speaks for the city as a whole to cast the deciding vote in such an important decision. Hiring and firing of city appointees creates change and, as we have seen in recent history, chaos. So it's important that there be an adult in the room at all times. I want to propose term limits in our charter. These items are charter items, by the way. I want to propose term limits, 3 terms, and thank you for your service. The mayor and council member positions would be separate, so you could serve 3 terms as a council member and 3 terms as a mayor, the public willing. The election cycle. For those of you who are running this year, I feel extremely sorry for you having to raise money in the midst of a very heated national campaign. My inbox every morning is flooded with requests from presidential candidates, representatives near and far, and Senate candidates, as though they think I've got a lot of money. In the meantime, I'm trying to take care of the home team. I have made contributions to several candidates for city council, school board, and for mayor. This makes the cost for you to run increasingly high. I would prefer to see the council and school board elections run contemporaneously with our state elections. I think it would be easier for you to get the attention that your races warrant, and you wouldn't have to pay as high prices for advertising. The competition is fierce. And finally, I would bring back resign to run. If you are a member of council and you wish to challenge the mayor, you would have to resign your seat. The resignation would be effective as of the filing date. The same thing would hold true for the school board. If you're a school board member and want to challenge the chair of the school board, you would have to resign to run. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Ms. Sheila Joseph. Ms. Joseph, if you would come forward, state your name and address, you will have 5 minutes.
(139) Grand Street, Portsmouth, Virginia. Thank God for the opportunity to say that Mr. Carter and Ms. Stoke got with me about the water bill, and they shared information and I shared information, and they found out that I do have some knowledge about what's going on with the system, and they trying to work with me, but I'm not satisfied yet until we go all the way back to last year. I'm looking for a bill to come in the mail for my water bill, and I haven't gotten it. But when I do get it, I would like to see if it's something. But I was given a paper at the water department in which I had paid a bill from 7/1 to 7/30, and then it was on September the 9th. They found that payment, if you can remember. But then the new bill is saying 7 to 8. I haven't got it in the mail. So I'm looking for that bill. But getting back to what I originally wanted to speak about is about the trees and a health hazard in our city. When you're riding down Portsmouth Boulevard and you make a right and go towards Turnpike, you see the big trees hanging over the streets. I don't know if it belonged to the city or what, but it's a danger, and we've been looking at it for many years. One day on Deep Creek Boulevard this year, we had a huge tree over by the graveyard, and the tree, came down, and they had to saw it. Just grateful that won't nobody walking or driving. But we drive under these trees every day on Rodman, going towards Portsmouth Boulevard or Turnpike. Over at Dominion Energy, their code is every 3 years if you haven't changed it. I'm talking about city codes that I have a problem with. They are to cut the tree limbs back so that when we have weather problems or anything, that it would protect the wires from, being damaged and surging into the home. And I remember speaking about the transformer. Nobody got back to me from Dominion, except for recently they said they checked out the transformer in January, and it's old and rusty. It's 34 years or older. But I did my homework and know that transformers, they got a certain amount of time limit. We have got $1 trillion to rebuild America, and our value amount is on my website to deal with the infrastructure. I wanted to say that the trees on Grand Street where I stay, and we got new signs saying watch out for the children. I'm the Civic League president as of March, and I requested for those signs and some other things. The tree limbs is already growing over there, and they ain't long put it there. I also want to talk about the city, if you don't mind, have 10 inches for grass, but some of them in certain areas up to my waistline probably. I say about 4 feet high. I guess it depends on what neighborhood. Then I want to talk about, he's not here, when he was vice mayor and you mayor, about the neighborhood sign. We done designed it and picked out a location for it to go, but I don't know what's going on to take a long time to get it put up to recognize our neighborhood. There's a few things I've been addressing in Portsmouth about on Deep Creek and Lincoln. It's a tall building, just like the one on Grand Street. And Mr. Wright is doing a wonderful job, if I can say so.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Okay, well, anyway, I would like for somebody to get with me on some things.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Yes, someone will get with you. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Mr. Dodson, isn't with us. Mr. Alexander. Garland Alexander, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes.
Garland Alexander, 2913 Tanbark Lane, Portsmouth, Virginia. I just want to say thank you for the two choices you made tonight on the two items on the agenda. And I know the retirees will appreciate it and the widows will too. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome, sir. Our next speaker is Charmaine Hankins. Ma'am, if you would come forward, state your name and address. You will have 5 minutes.
Hello, Council. Hi, Mayor. Hi, Vice President.
Ma'am, if you could please
My
move
name
the...
is Charmaine Hankins.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
Okay.
Charmaine Hankins,
Okay, yes,
address
ma'am.
4417 Green Acres Parkway. I am the owner of Premier Towing, 721 Mount Vernon Avenue. And I just come to speak to council and let you guys know to actually introduce myself and to let you guys know that I'm the towing company that, one of the towing companies that been speaking about on Facebook and in the community. But I also want to say that I don't do any predatory towing. Only thing I do is service call and contract calls. They are painting our business as this bad light, and that is not us. Okay? That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Shalanda Roberts. Did I pronounce that right? Shalanda? Or is it Shalanda? Okay, I'm sorry. Shalanda? Yes, ma'am. We want to get your name right. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shalonda Roberts, and I'm a new towing company here in town. My name of my company
Ms.
is...
Roberts, could you bring the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi. My name is Shalonda Roberts. I'm a new company here. The name of my company is Always Swift Towing. And my company was also talked about in the community. So I just wanted to introduce myself so that you guys could meet me and see me. I wanted to let you know that we do have the contract at Walmart, but we are not towing vehicles, with the what they call it, with the registration issue. We only tow vehicles that we're told to tow, and that's pretty much of the fire lanes and handicap. If they don't have the the handicap stickers or the plates, then we are to tow them. But I do want you to know that I do keep in mind that people will forget. So I go to the extreme measures of we will take pictures. We are to my drivers. They are to also take pictures like the front part of the vehicle where you can see the seats if it's not heavy tinted, you can see well. And I told them to look for if they see any medical devices, even such as like some people, they have asthma, and stuff like that. Any type of medical devices, we will honor that regardless of if they don't, if they do or don't have, the handicap sticker. And we will just not tow them, just to be on the safe side. So we're trying to take some measures, to avoid, towing people that might have forgot but do have the handicap stickers. Also, I wanted you to know also that I do care about the community. I have a lot of great ideas that I do want to be a part of, with the community, such as giving back to the community. And I'm looking for information on things like that. So it was a pleasure meeting you all. I'm glad I came out tonight.
Thank you, madam. And Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, ma'am, do you have a question, or you have the floor?
No, because I have been receiving emails from citizens, and so I'm glad to see both towing companies here today. I believe I spoke with you on Sunday about the issues, because the posed questions were that cars were just being towed. And of course, we didn't get the reason. They don't ever tell us what the reason is. They was just saying that there was an aggressive towing company that was coming and you can't even go in and get your groceries. But now we're hearing that they're in handicapped parking spaces and fire lanes and illegally parked, and not just being towed because they have an expired registration decal or whatever the matter is. So thank you both for explaining that information, coming forth with it, and hopefully we can dispel some of the myths that have been circulated through social media.
Yes, and also I wanted to let you all know that we have went to the measures of my staff. They all have body cameras, so that's how we will be in the community. So if anyone have a question or concern on how we are dealing with the community, they're welcome to see that, because that's how we will be operating from this point on. All right, thank you.
Thank you all. And so that concludes our well, let me make sure. Hold on. Mr. Cohen, are you still here? I thought he left. So that concludes our speakers for the evening, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to thank you all for coming. If there's no other business to conduct, this meeting is adjourned.